Hey, welcome back to the channel, man. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, man. Comment down below. Let me know where y'all from and who you rocking with, man. Let's go. So Boosie should have never told Vlad anything about the Duke the Jeweler situation, because when a lot of people looked at it, it looked like he was trying to get up out that jam, make these excuses, but he put himself in that place at the same time. This is why the feds are looking at him. He tried to blame it on J. Prince Jr. and them and all this stuff because it was in Houston. He tried to say it was the Houston guys that was supposed to make him check in. The fact that Duke the Jeweler didn't check in and everything ain't Boosie's fault is what he was trying to say, but the way Vlad was asking the questions is really what got the feds on Boosie's tail, man, because Vlad brought up a whole lot of stuff that a lot of people were trying to keep under the radar, trying to sweep it under the rug about this whole situation, man. And so this is the reason why everybody got to pay attention to the fact that whatever Boosie had behind closed doors with Duke the Jeweler, whatever, if he was jealous, if he was trying to hit him up, set him up, whatever it was, man, it should have never happened at all, because at the end of the day, Duke the Jeweler, he deserved to have been still around and doing his thing and everything. He was taking care of his community, he was taking care of his kids, everything like that. So this is the reason why a lot of people realized that the way that Boosie was moving was real sketchy after the fact. The way that Boosie was acting during the whole dice game, a lot of people thought that that was real funny of him to be acting like that after the dice game. He left right away without talking to Duke the Jeweler. Nobody talked to Duke the Jeweler after that whole entire dice game thing. When he beat J. Prince Jr. and Boosie and won all that money, they were mad at him, man. They had to have been. Everything alleged and for entertainment purposes. So at the end of the day, the next time when Duke the Jeweler the next day came around, they texted him the location to go to for the whole concert. Once he got to the concert, he was supposed to follow Boosie's driver behind him and get right into the section. But they already had the whole thing set up with security, where they made sure the parking lot attendant told him to go to the other side. They refused to open the gate for Duke the Jeweler to go through so he could have his car go through. Y'all gotta remember, Duke the Jeweler drove his car all the way from Chicago to Houston to attend this concert and to do his business dealings with the jewelry. A lot of people said that he should have never brought over $1 million worth of jewelry to that place, knowing how the whole city gets down in Houston. In Houston, it gets down all the time. People always be getting set up. A lot of people set up people they know. So that's why everybody got to pay attention to everybody that's around them and their surroundings, because that's when you got to pay attention to who's pocket watching, who's looking at this, who's trying to make you check in, who's trying to see what you got, and if you leave this open and leave that. And so everybody's always watching and waiting for an opportunity to do the lick, because a lot of people are struggling right now. There's no more business loans, no more ZZZ loans, nothing like that. So at the end of the day, whatever a lot of people are doing, the feds is picking up on it, because they know for a fact that the same people who was doing they were doing good when the checks was coming in and everything like that. But then now all of that has stopped. A lot of people's motion has stopped, including Boosie's, and that's why he needed to come up with $1 million in 48 hours. Whenever somebody has to come up with that amount of money in that little amount of time, that means somebody's about to get set up. Something's about to go down, because you can't have this happen and have Duke the Jeweler and everything get set up, and then Boosie need to come up with $1 million in 48 hours. It seems like that's what it was. That's how whatever happened to Duke the Jeweler looked like it was them trying to get the $1 million lick. And so that's why with his jewelry, they asked him to come down with the whole jewelry case. They told him they was going to buy them all out. They was going to buy every piece that he brought as long as they liked it. So they made sure to tell him to bring his best, most valuable pieces. And not knowing that it was going to be a robbery, Duke the Jeweler brought everything for business reasons. He was going to sell the jewelry to the rappers, to all the big ballers in Houston who was going to come backstage with Boosie. He even went to the dice game just to show his face and just to check in with them and be like, hey man, I support y'all playing this dice game. I'll pay the fee to get into the house and everything. But at the end of the day, the house always wins. They was mad about the fact that Duke the Jeweler kept hitting them with the 7, 11, 7s and 11s back to back to back. He ran J. Prince Jr. out of money. That's why they had to end the whole dice game. They would have kept it going. They would have kept telling Duke the Jeweler, let me run it back. Let me get a chance to win this back. Double or nothing. They tried to do that so many times until they all ran out of money. And then they told Boosie This is how it's gonna work. You gotta come up with $1 million in 48 hours. The next place he's gonna be at is at Boosie's concert. And so this is when they ran the whole operation into play. As soon as they got there, people already knew that something was off, for the fact that they wouldn't let Duke the Jeweler into the private section, into the VIP parking lot. The whole security and the crew and the lot crew and everything like that told him which way to go. They said, nah, you can't go where Boosie went that way. You got to go this way. You got to park under the parking spot that has no lights and it's dark. And so that way they easily tried to set him up by making him park in the dark section of the parking garage that was right there by that alley. And so this is the mistakes that happened, basically, where Duke the Jeweler didn't have no security with him. He came down from there with his girl and everything like that. The photos came out, the pictures came out, the Instagram stories and everything came out the day after he got hit up, and it paints the whole entire story of what happened between Boosie, Duke the Jeweler, everybody that was at that dice game. So they started reviewing the footage of everything at that dice game. It was like 6 to 7 people that kept whispering and everything like that. They was like whispering, they're like, you see that dude right there with the chain? You see Duke the Jeweler right there? He got all that money on him. They was really trying to set up a whole lot of stuff, man, by being at that dice game. And then that video footage was showing how everybody was kind of plotting on him. They was all looking, saying something to each other in private. They were trying to cover their mouth so that nobody could see and see what the words they were mouthing. But they kept pointing at Duke the Jeweler. They kept pointing over there. They kept looking. The guy with the red backpack and Boosie's cousin was in the background. And they was rubbing their hands like this, like they was about to come up on some of the money that the dudes had, man. And a lot of times with these dice games, people fake and act like they losing to some other dude, and the whole time they really trying to set up one guy, but everybody act like they losing to this other guy, and then it becomes a back and forth between them. But in reality, they gonna split the money up evenly after the whole dice game is over. Y'all gotta remember, man, this all happened at their mansion, and so they know everybody who was invited there. The people from that dice game knew that Duke the Jeweler was in town and didn't have no security with him and had over $1 million worth of jewelry. This is the reason why Johnny Dane closed down for the weekend, because he didn't want nobody to try to bring Duke the Jeweler's pieces. After they took that Louis Vuitton bag, people in there knew that they was going to be bringing Duke the Jeweler's jewelry to all these other jewelry shops so that they could sell it, get a quick buck. It could be worth $1 million, but they gonna get like $500K. They gonna do a quick sale. Like, a lot of it is that the cash that he had with the dice game plus the $1 million in jewelry, they got the $600,000 from the dice game in cash. So they had that. Then the $1 million in jewelry, they actually let that go for $400K so that they could combine it and have the $1 million in 48 hours. And so they really, a lot of people, it's all profit when they hit a lick or something like that. And so this is why you got to keep an eye out. The people who end up with the Duke the Jeweler pieces, that's who the feds are going to come for. They're going to be targeting them, trying to see who's trying to sell the Duke the Jeweler pieces, who's melting them down, who has something that look like they try to change the colors or anything like that. And so this is how they do that, and then work their way backwards to find out who sold them the chains and see if that came from Boosie's camp. If it came from Boosie's camp, then that's just going to add more trouble into the trouble that Boosie already going down for. Boosie got to sit down to do that 5-piece. And so this is nothing that's going to help that situation. And so this is why he should have kept quiet when he went to VladTV. And that's the reason why everybody started getting on Boosie's radar in the first place, including the feds, man. And so y'all got to subscribe to find out what happens next on this whole entire story.